Hello students, how are you all? I hope you are doing well. Today we are going to discuss Chapter 6 Combustion and Flame. Let's warm up. Take the right the objects that can be catch fire and cross those which cannot. So students, look at these pictures. You have to take the correct on those objects which catch the fire and cross which do not. Let's know about types of combustion. How do we control fire, flame, a structure of a candle flame. What is a fuel? Fuel efficiency. So student, these are the topics we are going to discuss in this chapter. We are familiar with the burning of different substances in our day-to-day life. We come across with the burning of substances like cow dung, just stick, santhi, wooden pieces, coal, liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, candle, etc. to produce heat and light. The scientific term used for burning in combustion, the process of burning of substances in air or oxygen with the production of heat and light is called combustion. During combustion, light is given off either as a flame or as a glue. On the basis of combustion, substances may be divided into two types: combustible substances which burn and non-combustible substances which do not burn. So student, combustion की अगर हम बात करें, जो ऑब्जेक्ट क्या करती है, फायर कैच करती है, वो जलती है. कंबशन होता है किस फॉर्म में? आपको लाइट मिलेगी या फिर एक ग्लो मिलेगा, एक फ्लेम मिलेगा. सो दैट इज कंबशन. कंबशन के बिहाफ पे हमने सब्सटेंसेस को दो ग्रुप में डिवाइड किया, दैट इज कंबस्टाइल एंड नॉन कंबस्टाइल. सॉरी, कंबस्टाइबल and non-combustible. Here, combustible substances that burn in air or oxygen to produce heat and light are called combustible substances. For example, cow dung, jute stick, wooden pieces, coal, candle, kerosene, LPG, etc. Non-combustible substances that do not burn in air, oxygen are called non-combustible substances. For example, iron, stone, etc. Let us perform the following activity to classify substances as combustible and non-combustible. Here we have supporter of combustion. Oxygen is essentially for combustion. Without oxygen, combustion cannot take place. So the oxygen or air is called supporter of combustion. Let us perform the following activity to show that oxygen or air is essential for combustion. So students, firstly supporter of combustion की बात, that means oxygen और air के बिना combustion possible नहीं है. Here we have an activity 1. Aim to show that oxygen or air is essential for combustion. Materials required: a candle, a safety match, a glass chimney, a small table, few small wooden blocks, a small glass plate. Here procedure: fix a lighted candle on a table, put a glass chimney over the candle and rest it on a few wooden blocks in such a way that air can enter the chimney. Observe what happens to the flame. Now remove the blocks and let the chimney rest on the table again and observe the flame. Finally, put a glass plate over the chimney. Watch the flame again. Here, observation. In case A, the candle burns freely when air can enter the chimney from below. In case B, when air does not enter the chimney from below, the flame flickers and produces a smoke. In case C, the flame finally goes off because the air is not available. So student, अगर air available नहीं होगी तो flame भी नहीं होगा. Do you know? In ancient Egypt, the small pieces of pine wood were dipped in sulfur and used as matchsticks. Here conclusion: air is necessary for combustion. Look at this picture. Experiment to show that air is essential for burning. We have read that the sun produces its own heat and light. It is also some kind of combustion in the sun. Heat and light are produced by nuclear reactions. You will learn about this process in higher classes. Now we have ignition temperature. Different substances catch fire at different temperatures. The lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire is called its ignition temperature. A combustible substance cannot catch fire or burn as long as its temperature is lower than its ignition temperature. We can recall our some of the day-to-day experience to compare ignition temperature of some of the common substances. So student, ignition temperature क्या है? किसी भी substance का वो temperature जिस पे वो fire को catch करता है. A wooden block catches fire when it is kept in contact with the fire for longer time. It means the ignition temperature of wooden block is higher. Cooking oil catches the fire when a frying pan is kept for long or a burning stove. This shows the higher ignition temperature of cooking oil also. Kerosene oil catches fire when it is heated a little. It means the ignition temperature of kerosene oil is lower. The following activity show that it is essential for a substance to reach ignition temperature to burn. Here we have an activity 2. Make 2 paper cups by folding a sheet of paper. Pour about 50 ml of water in one of the cups. Heat both the cups separately with a candle. Look here. Heating water in a paper cup 2. Observation: the empty paper cup starts burning while the water in another paper cup becomes hot. Conclusion: the heat supplied to the water cup is transferred to water by conduction, so in the presence of water, the ignition temperature of paper is not reached, hence it does not burn. Here we have check and mate. You can do it by yourself as we already read about these things. Thus, the condition necessary for combustion to take place are as follows: presence of combustible substances, presence of supporter of combustion, and heating the combustible substances to its ignition temperature. So student, these are the things जो आपको combustion के लिए जरूरी है. Here, inflammable substances. The substances which have very low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with a flame are called inflammable substances. Examples of inflammable substances are petrol, alcohol, liquefied petroleum gas. Can you list some more inflammable substances? Yes, you can do it by yourself. Here, types of combustion. Combustion can be of three types: spontaneous, rapid, and explosion. Here, the first we have spontaneous combustion. When a substance does not need external heat to start the combustion and it catches the fire suddenly on its own, the process is called a spontaneous combustion. This might prove to be dangerous. Spontaneous combustion of coal dust near the coal mines in one such example. This may lead to a major accident, risking the lives of the coal mine workers. You might have heard of major outbreaks of forest fires, especially during summers. This could be caused by even a slight spark of a cigarette or a natural cause like lightning or heat of the sun, which ignites the dry leaves, twigs, and then the fire spreads through the woods. There are certain substances which catch fire when they come in contact with air. Sodium is stored under kerosene. Can you recall the reason for this? When white Yes, students, why it is? Because sodium is inflammable substance. That's why we store it in kerosene. When white phosphorus is kept in air for some time, it will automatically catch fire. Phosphorus reacts with air to form an oxide and the reaction is exothermic. The heat generated ignites the rest of the white phosphorus. To avoid this, it should be stored in water. So students, अगर हम spontaneous की बात करें, वो substances या वो चीजें जो खुद से फायर को कैच कर लेते हैं, दैट इज स्पॉन्टेनियस. वो डेंजरस हो सकती है. जैसे आपको भी एग्जांपल दिया गया है कि व्हाइट फोस्फोरस को हम वाटर में क्या करते हैं, स्टोर करते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि वो भी एकदम जैसे वो ऑक्सीजन या एयर के कांटेक्ट में आता है तो वो फायर जो है कैच कर लेता है विदाउट एनीथिंग. वो खुद से फायर कैच करते हैं, मतलब खुद से बर्न करना स्टार्ट कर देते हैं. नाउ रैपिड कंबशन. Rapid combustion occurs when a substance catches fire instantly and produces heat and light. Even a small burning agent like a matchstick or a lighter can cause the fire. In rapid combustion, a large amount of heat is released in a very short time. Example of rapid combustion can be cited in a case of lighting up of LPG gas stove in the kitchen, which provides heat and light immediately. Similarly, a candle starts burning when a lighted matchstick is brought near its wick. Look at this picture. LPG gas stove here is rapid combustion. So student, rapid combustion क्या है? जब हम किसी सोर्स के थ्रू बर्निंग होती है लेकिन वो बहुत जल्दी होती है, बहुत ज्यादा हीट प्रोड्यूस होती है. Now, explosion. A combustion that is sudden and release a large amount of heat, light and sound is called explosion. This type of combustion takes place when firecrackers explode. We often hear of explosions taking place in factories manufacturing crackers. This put the lives of people working there in danger. Many young children are illegally forced to work in such factories, so always say no to crackers to help those little children. So students, you have to take care of it. How do we control fire? Sometimes fire breaks out in homes, shops, factories or elsewhere and we need to control it. Let us see how do we control such fire. We have learned in previous sections that there are three essential requirements for producing fire. These are fuel that burns, air to supply oxygen and heat to raise the temperature of the fuel up to ignition temperature. So student, ये तीनों चीजें हमें चाहिए होती हैं जब फायर जो है वो इंक्रीज हो. अब हमें करना क्या है कि हमें फायर को खत्म करना है या कंट्रोल करना है. So look here. So fire can be controlled by removing one or more of these requirements. That means fire can be controlled by removing the fuel, that means burning substance, cutting the supply of air, lowering the temperature of burning substance below its ignition temperature. So student, ये तीनों चीजें अगर आप कर पा रहे हैं, so that means आप fire को control कर सकते हैं. Here, fire brigade station. Generally, every town city has a fire brigade station to control the fire. The job of a fire extinguisher is to cut off the supply of air or to bring down the temperature of the fuel, or both. Notice that the fuel is, in most cases, cannot be eliminated. If, for instance, a building catches fire, the whole building is the fuel. So student, fuel को eliminate करना it's not easy. So हम fire brigade की help लेते हैं. Here, fire brigade controls the fire by pouring water on the fire. Water controls the combustible material and brings its temperature below the ignition temperature so that the fires stop. Water vapors also surround the combustible materials, helping in cutting off the supply of air, so the fire is extinguished. तो स्टूडेंट वो पानी क्या करते हैं, उन पे पोर करते हैं, पानी डाला जाता है. सो दैट्स वाई क्या होता है कि फायर ब्रिगेड फायर को कंट्रोल करते हैं. Look at this picture. Firemen extinguish the fire by throwing water under pressure. Here, fire extinguisher. The most common fire extinguisher is water, but water works only when things like wood and paper are on fire. If electrical equipment is on fire, water may conduct electricity and harm those trying to douse the fire. Water is also not suitable for fires involving oil and petrol. Do you recall that water is heavier than oil? So it sinks below the oil and oil keeps burning on top. For fires involving electrical equipment and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide is the best extinguisher. Carbon dioxide, being heavier than oxygen, covers the fire like a blanket. Since the contact between the fuel and the oxygen is cut off, the fire is controlled. The added advantage of CO2 is that in most cases it does not harm the electrical equipment. Following are the two simplest CO2 fire extinguishers. So students, ऐसी चीजें जिनमें पानी वर्क नहीं करता, जैसे इलेक्ट्रिक इक्विपमेंट्स हो गए, या फिर आपका पेट्रोल से जो आग लगती है, या एलपीजी की जो आपकी फायर होती है, उन्हें हम पानी से कभी खत्म नहीं कर सकते. इसलिए हम यूज करते हैं कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का, जो फ्यूल से ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई को कट कर देती है एंड फायर जो है वो खत्म हो जाती है. सोडा एसिड टाइप fire extinguisher. The construction of soda acid type fire extinguisher is shown in figure below. It consists of three parts: container, bottle, knob. The cylindrical container contains sodium bicarbonate solution. The small bottle contains concentrated sulfuric acid. The bottle is attached to the knob. In case of fire, the knob is struck. The bottle breaks and sulfuric acid reacts with sodium bicarbonate, liberating large amount of CO2 gas with great force. It forms a blanket of CO2 gas around the fire, cutting off the supply of air to the fire so that the fire gets extinguished. Here, sodium bicarbonate plus sulfuric acid, then sodium sulfate plus water plus carbon dioxide. So students, ये वाला जो सोडा एसिड टाइप है, ये क्या करता है, सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड रिएक्ट करता है और क्या रिलीज करता है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. Here, CO2 fire extinguisher. In this fire extinguisher, CO2 is stored at high pressure as liquid in a cylinder. When released from the cylinder, CO2 expands enormously in volume and cools down. So it's not only forms a blanket around the fire, it also brings down the temperature of the fuel. That is why it is an excellent fire extinguisher. So students, सबसे अच्छा क्या है, CO2 extinguisher. Look at this picture. Here is fire extinguisher. Now, flame. Most of the substances on burning produce flame. Mainly the color of flame is either yellow or blue. Look here. A matchstick, a candle and a kerosene lamp burns with a yellow flame. Then LPG burns with a blue flame. In fact, the substances which vaporize during burning produce flame. For example, kerosene oil and molten wax rise through the wick and are vaporized during burning and form flames. Charcoal, on the other hand, does not vaporize and so does not produce a flame. A flame is shining zone in which a combustible gaseous material undergoes combustion, producing heat and light. Let's us perform the following activity to classify the substances which on burning form flame or do not form flame. So student, flame क्या है, जब हम कोई ऑब्जेक्ट जो है बर्न करती है तो फ्लेम प्रोड्यूस करती है, कुछ करती है कुछ नहीं. अब हम उसी बिहाफ पे कुछ substances को classify करेंगे. We have an activity 3. Aim to demonstrate that substances that vaporize easily during burning gives flame. Things required: a candle, a matchbox and a glass tube. Method: place one end of a glass tube into the innermost part of the flame at an angle of 45 degrees. Bring a lighted matchstick at the upper end. What do you observe? Observation: the upper end of the tube will lit up. Conclusion: the wax vapor present in the inner zone rises up, flows up the tube and serves as the fuel for this second flame. So students, ये क्या हुआ है कि अगर हम कैंडल को बर्न करते हैं तो कौन फ्यूल की तरह वर्क करता है, wax vapors. Here, a structure of a flame. Classification of a flame as luminous and non-luminous flame. Luminous flame. A yellow flame which produces heat and appreciable amount of light is called a luminous flame. It is obtained due to incomplete combustion of fuel. That means when fuel burns in insufficient quantity, limited supply of air, example flame of kerosene lamp. So student, जो yellow color का होता है वो insufficient quantity of fuel का flame होता है. Here non-luminous flame. A blue flame which produces heat and very little light is called non-luminous flame. It is obtained by complete combustion of fuel. That means when fuel burns in sufficient quantity, regular supply of air, example flame of LPG stove. Look at the pictures we have. Colors of the candle flame and the flame of kitchen stove. Here again we have flames of kerosene lamp, candle and Bunsen burner. Now, structure of a candle flame. A candle is made up of paraffin wax and cotton thread called wick. The wick is kept at the center of the column of paraffin wax all along its height. Paraffin wax is a petroleum product obtained from the residue left after the fractional distillation of crude oil. It is a mixture of higher hydrocarbons. It contains very high percentage of carbon. When candle is lighted, the wax melts and rises up through the wick due to capillary action and gets vaporized. The wax vapors then burn and produce a luminous flame. The candle flame is yellow due to incomplete combustion of wax. So student, आप सबको पता है कि कैंडल किससे बनती है? पैराफिन वैक्स और cotton thread से. Now look at this picture. Different zones of candle flame. The first is non-luminous region, then luminous region, then dark inner zone, then blue zone. Now, a candle flame consists of the following 4 zones. Outermost, non-luminous zone of complete combustion. It is hottest part of the flame. Due to complete combustion, no residues left on an object placed in this zone. Then, central or middle luminous zone of incomplete combustion. It is a major zone of the flame which is moderately hot. Due to incomplete combustion, unburned carbon particles remain present in this zone which glow to produce the yellow flame. It leaves black shoot and other residue on an object placed in this zone. So student, ये incomplete combustion होता है जो आपका central और middle luminous zone होता है. Now, inner dark zone of no combustion. It is least hot zone and around the wick. In this zone, very little or no combustion take place because this zone does not get air. Then the lowest blue zone. At the base of the flame, carbon monoxide produced in the dark zone due to incomplete combustion burns here to produce the blue flame due to complete combustion. Here, why does the wick of candle not burn? In a burning candle, the heat is taken by wax to vaporize and hence the wick remains cool and does not burn. So student, क्योंकि wax vaporize होती है, वो burn होती है, इसलिए wick burn नहीं होती है. What is a fuel? A combustible substance which on burning produces a large amount of heat and light is called fuel. Examples of fuel are wood, charcoal, petrol, kerosene, LPG, cow dung cakes, etc. Fuel may be solid, liquid or gases at room temperature. Examples. So student, fuel क्या है? जो substance burn करता है, that is fuel. Solid fuels we have cow dung cakes, wood, charcoal, agriculture wastes, etc. Liquid fuels, petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc. Gaseous fuels, liquefied petroleum gas, compressed natural gas, biogas, coal gas, water gas, petroleum gas, etc. Characteristics of a good fuel. A good fuel is one which is readily available, which is cheap, which burns easily in air at a moderate rate, which produces a large amount of heat. That means its calorific value should be high, which does not leave behind any undesirable substances, which can be easily stored and easily transported, whose ignition temperature is higher than room temperature. There is probably no fuel that could be considered as an ideal fuel. We should look for a fuel which fulfills most of the requirements for a particular use. LPG and CNG fulfill most of this criterion of a good or ideal fuel. Now, fuel efficiency. Most of our energy requirements are made by the fossil fuels and their products. But how do you decide which is the best fuel? In other words, how do you compare the efficiency of various types of fuels? So student, efficiency का meaning है कौन सा fuel ज़्यादा अच्छा है. The fuels are burned to produce heat. Some fuels produce more heat and while others produces less heat. Thus, the efficiency of various fuels can be compared by the amount of heat produced by them. In fact, a fuel is rated by its calorific value. So students, अगर हम efficiency की बात करते हैं वो हम decide कब करेंगे, कितनी amount of heat कोई भी आपका fuel जो है वो क्या करता है, produce करता है. Now look at this table we have, students. Calorific values of different fuels. So you can read this table by yourself. Here the calorific values of every fuel. Now Calorific value is the amount of heat energy released by the complete combustion of 1 kg of a fuel. The heat generated by fuels when they burn is measured in joule or calorie. 1 calorie is equals to 4.18 joule. The calorific value is expressed in kilojoule per kg. Get it students? So calorific value क्या होती है? कितनी amount of heat produce करता है 1 kg of that substance after complete combustion. Here, a fuel with more calorific value releases more energy than the fuel with lower calorific value. The fuel with higher calorific value is therefore more efficient. The table given above lists some of the fuels with their calorific values. Here we have check and mate. You can do it by yourself as we already read about these things. Now, harmful effects of burning fuels. The burning of coal and oil causes the release of atmospheric pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide. The gases readily form smoke that pollutes the air. Carbon dioxide is the main greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. Another environmental issue associated with the use of oil is the impact of oil drilling. Most of the oil wells lie under the ocean. Oil spills accidents are the major threat to the marine organisms and birds. So students, अब हमारे जो फ्यूल्स हैं उनके यूज से कुछ इफेक्ट भी हैं, जैसे बहुत सारी गैसेस वो रिलीज करते हैं, उससे हमारा एनवायरनमेंट जो है वो अफेक्ट होता है. Here, carbon containing fuels like wood and coal releases unburned carbon particles which form soot and are responsible for causing respiratory disease like asthma. During the incomplete combustion, the unburnt carbon not only causes wastage of the fuel but also pollutes the atmosphere by producing highly poisonous carbon monoxide gas. Carbon monoxide causes respiratory problems and may even prove fatal. So students, हमारे जो कार्बन वाले फ्यूल्स है वो क्या रिलीज करते हैं? कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड और बहुत सारी एस भी रिलीज करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि हमारा जो एनवायरमेंटल सिस्टम है वो डिस्टर्ब होता है और डिजीज हो जाती है, रेस्पिरेटरी डिजीज लाइक अस्थमा. नाउ थर्ड, द सल्फर कंटेन्ड इन कोल फॉर्म्स सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड व्हेन इट बर्न्स. Harmful nitrogen oxides, heavy metals, and carbon dioxide are also released in the air during coal burning. The harmful oxide dissolve to rainwater to form acids like nitric and sulfuric acid, which fall to the ground as acid rain. This is harmful because it. So student, acid rain भी किसकी वजह से होती है? जो हम fuels burn करते हैं उनकी वजह से होती है. Here, damage green leaves of plants and trees, reaches the sources of surface water and underground water, and deteriorates the quality of water and cause damage to monuments. The mining of coal results in the destruction of wide areas of land. Mining this fossil fuel is also difficult and may endanger the lives of mine workers. Coal mining is considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. So student, ये सारे effects हैं जो आपकी coal की वजह से हमारी life में है. What we learn in this chapter now, we are going to discuss it in a nutshell. The process of burning of substances in air, oxygen with the production of heat and light is called combustion. Substances that burn in air or oxygen to produce heat and light are called combustible substances. Substances that do not burn in air or oxygen are called non-combustible substances. Oxygen in air is essential for combustion. During the process of combustion, heat and light are given off. The lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire is called its ignition temperature. The substances which have very low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with a flame are called inflammable substances. The combustion in which a substance burns rapidly and produces heat and light is called rapid combustion. The combustion in which a substance burns in insufficient quantity limits supply of air is called incomplete combustion. Here we have some keywords. Acid rain. Rain polluted by acid that has been released into the atmosphere from factories and the other industrial process. Calorific value. The amount of heat energy released by the complete combustion of 1 kg of a fuel. Combustion. The process of burning something. Deforestation. The action of cutting down a wide area of trees. Flame, a hot glowing body of ignited gas that is generated by something on fire. Fire extinguisher, a device containing water or special gas, power or foam that is used to put on fire. Thank you students. We will meet again in the next chapter. Till then, revise what we learned today.